It is great that you are an effective leader and then have all the mindset and the tool that you need to lead your organization well. Today, we are glad that we have CJ Ng with us to share his book, Data-Driven Sales Leadership, focusing more on the data-driven and leadership. It means that you as a leader, you can make informed decisions based on the data that you have so that you can know and look at the trend, what are the right decisions for you to make. Therefore, being a leader, make the right decision and transform your organization to a better place. Let's dive into the sharing from CJ.
As Bowling has kindly and graciously introduced, my name is CJ. I work with many companies in terms of helping them to improve their performance, whether it's sales or leadership. And I'm really glad and thankful to be finally in Intel, and this is a little story behind the scenes. You see, Intel was doing some business value or business-driven value training last year. So there's a huge global initiative to help Intel sell to non-traditional customers. And I was supposed to be part of that. In fact, I was supposed to go online and train for our fellow participants from Beijing, right? So that was the plan. And then, of course, August happened, and we know what happened. And the whole project was initially postponed and eventually cancelled. So it was a kind of a regret that I had to work with Intel, only to have things beyond our control to cancel it. And finally, I'm here in Intel Penang, so it's really great to be with you. So for this morning, as you can see, I'm not using any slides. It's going to be a lot more interactive. So if you are online, and now that you can see, and as you can see, I'm not preparing a deck. Nothing is pre-prepared at the moment. So it's going to be a lot more interactive. It's a lot more whatever you have in mind to ask, to comment, to add on to the interaction that we are going to have for today. Now, I'll just highlight a few things. So my latest book, and I think we are going to ship 10 copies of this to Intel Penang. So if you want to lay your hands on one of these, please do so. I think we also have, if you're based in Malaysia, we also have online orders available for Malaysia ordering. And if you are in China, even Beijing, let us know. I think I've shared my WeChat to Billy. So if you want to get a copy of this printed in China, let me know. We can arrange for that through WeChat. So anyways, back to the topic. This is a new book called Data-Driven Sales Leadership. I do understand that not all of us here are in sales. In fact, most of us are not in sales in our audience this morning. So we can focus on two aspects. One is on leadership, right? So it can be general leadership. It can be leadership for if you are an engineer and now you have advanced from being an individual contributor to a leader, a manager, a supervisor. What are some of the things that you may want to look out for? So that's some things on leadership, especially if you are transitioning from an engineer to be a leader, right? So that's a part of it. The other part is what we can do is data-driven. Now, I'm going to be liberal. I'm going to be very general in the usage of the term data. So when it comes to data, usually we will say data is numbers, different kind of numbers, that's data. But data need not always be numbers. Right. In fact, if you're in computing, data is any bits and bytes are data. So yeah, in computing, in pure computing, data is just 1 and 0. But in actual fact, bits and bytes can be anything. So it can be how you describe your feelings, What is the weather? Is it sunny, cloudy, rainy, and so on. So those can also be data. So it doesn't always have to be just numbers and everything else. So that's data driven. And why data driven is that in terms of leadership, um, we can say that leadership is a soft skill, and the problem, the challenge with being a soft skill is it tends to be more subjective. That's in, I feel this way, you feel that way, and the way I feel is different from the way you feel. And sometimes it ends into a lot of ambiguity, a lot of conflicts, right? So if there are ways that we can have our leadership that is based on some data. So what kind of data? As I mentioned, data does not always need to be numbers only. So the leadership can be, what I observe is you were late for 5 minutes for the last 3 days in various meetings. So there are numbers, there are things that I described. Or I can say that, in our meeting yesterday, I don't seem to notice you being very participative, or I don't seem to notice your participation. So I don't need to say that, oh, in the meeting, I only saw you participate in like 5 minutes out of that 1 hour. I don't have to be that specific because it may not be practical, but I can be as objective as I can to describe in our meeting yesterday, I don't seem to hear your contributions. And I'd like to see more contributions in our upcoming meetings tomorrow. So those are those are fact-driven or data-driven kind of feedback that we can use in a leadership scenario, right? And of course, when it comes to data, especially, it's probably the same in sales as the same as if you are in project as well. Now, just use the sales scenario. In terms of sales, when we come into data, there is leading data and lagging data, right? I'll go with lagging data first. What is lagging data? Lagging data is the information that you get after everything is done. So in sales, we like to see, what is last year's sales figure? In business, how is your stock performing? You get a price, share price, you get a sales figure, but that figure is based on everything that has happened before. That's why it's called lagging, right? You get a number, but the number, or you get something, that something reflects historical data, reflects things that has been done in the past. Well, the good thing about lagging data is it still gives us some feedback. Okay, your sales hit a certain number. Do you like the number or do you don't like the number? If you like the number, great. Then what next? You may want to ask yourself, what have you been doing that is great, that is productive, that leads you to that number? You get a number and then it's not the number you want. You are falling behind your forecast. You did not hit your targets. So it's not a number you want. So what can we learn out of it? Is that something that um, we could have done better? Are there certain things that did not work as planned? And how would you want to recalibrate and move on later? So that's how we work with lagging data. The downside about lagging data is it does not tell you the future. You can learn from the past to do better in the future, but it does not tell you a prediction or any kind of forecast of what you will be in the future. So sometimes we may want to use some leading data. So leading data are what we do on a daily basis. In the sales context, as in, are you visiting enough customers? Are you visiting enough of the qualified customers? Are you addressing the customer's needs rather than to just sell them whatever you want to push to them, right? So those are the things that we measure, the activities leading to the outcome. So I'm sure in project management it's the same. What is your baseline? What is your progress so far? What have you done? What is your completion so far? And are you on track to meeting your project deadlines, your deliverables, and so on. So those are the two things that we would like to have, that data-driven kind of thing. And I'm sure that since the audience here we got a lot of engineers over here. Everybody will be very can relate and resonate a lot with data. So it's just a matter of not just using data for your engineering or technical work, but also using data or information or facts in how you communicate, how you work with other colleagues, how you lead as well. So that's one part. Now, several things when you are transitioning from a doer to a manager, especially if you're transitioning from an engineer to a leader. The first thing is people versus you got people versus machines, right? So and this is what we ask engineers or any technical people. Which of these two, people or machines, which of these two are easier to communicate and to work with? Machines, right? So because machines are, you have the same input, you have the same process, you will definitely get the same consistent output, right? The instructions of inputting, the instructions of processing is very clear. You just follow the procedures and then you will get a very predictable output. Right? If you have the same input and the same process, but the outputs are different, that means the machine is faulty. Right? There's something wrong with the machine. So machines usually are much more predictable than people. So people is, if you have the same input, you have the same process, you might get the same output, you might not get the same output. That's the thing with people. They're a little bit more unpredictable. Also, in terms of machines, if you have the same model of machines, right? The same make, the same model of machines. If the same model works in Penang, the same model will work exactly the same way in Beijing. The same model will work exactly the same way in India and any part of the world. But with people, you have engineer of a certain type, and the same role of engineer may have different ways of working in Penang. And you got someone, same role but different person, doing the same work in Beijing will have a different way of working with them. So you have the same model, same role, but they function differently, right? So that's a part with people, and as a result, when we're dealing with people, sometimes we got to take a bit more care. Right, in terms of using machines, especially complex machines, we always have a user manual. You don't want to wreck the machine. You don't want to make the machine go bonkers, right? So there is a user manual, and with people, there are also user manuals. It's just that in the user manual, you won't have very specific and very predictable outcomes. You will have guidelines. So when you are dealing with people, when communicating with people, you may want to adapt to different styles of communication. You may want to empathize with what the person is thinking, feeling, or considering at that point of time before you communicate. So there are ways of adapting to working with people. So that's a distinction to make. We can go on this topic on and on for 2 whole days. What we want to do for today is just to understand people are not machines. Machines are many times a lot more predictable than people. So if we are dealing with people, you may want to style switch to understand that people are different. People will behave differently, and you probably will need to adapt yourself so that you can get the results, the desired results from the people you work with. Right. So that's one part. The second part is that um, when you're doing that transition from individual contributor to a leader, um, there is a difference between doing the job yourself and getting others to do the job for you. Right, doing the job yourself, well, that's usually, you know your stuff. Um, you are an engineering graduate and you've been in Intel for many years. You really, really know what you're doing, and not to brag in front of your bosses, but probably you can complete many, many tasks subconsciously. You don't really need to, like, oh, first step I need to do this, second step I need to do that. You don't need to go through that mentally. It just happens subconsciously. You're so skilled, right? That's it. That's doing. Now, when you get so good in doing something that you don't really need to think hard doing it, now you need to translate that to getting others to do the same thing, right? It's something that happens to you subconsciously, just like driving, or to some of us doing some regular tasks. You don't even need to think about it. Something that happens subconsciously, you need to now consciously get others to do it, and not just do it, but do it the way you want it to be. So doing and leading can be very different. And also, it really depends on the kinds of tasks that you are getting people to do. Now, in Intel, I'm sure we got manufacturing, we got production. So if you are on the production line, then there will be standard ways of operating. You got your SOPs, there are standard steps on how you need to manufacture your products, that everybody does the same thing in the right process, in the right sequence, every single time. So those are the kind of what they call the task based work that we get people to do. Now that's easy, right? Because everybody just follow the same procedure and just repeat the same procedure, and you get the same results. So that's the kind of the task-based kind of work. Now, on the other hand, there could be things like a responsibility kind of work. Responsibility means you don't have set procedures. Everybody will need to figure out your own way. You need to use your own brain power. You need to go to a situation and, based on your expertise, your skills, your experience, your judgment, and decide what to do next. So everything is based on responsibility, and sometimes there could be more than one correct answer. There could be more than one way of getting the job done. So when you are doing, when you are leading, rather, when you are leading those kind of responsibility kind of work, you may want to think about how to set certain standards. Certain standards, as in, okay, what I want is, by a certain time, I want to see certain kinds of outcomes. It can be a certain quality, it can be a certain quantity, it can be a certain style, color, ways of things. These are the things that I want. So I set a very clear goal describing this is what I want to see after a certain time, right? If it's a short, if it's a 1 day, 2 day kind of thing, then we'll get people to do and come and check after 1 or 2 days. If it's a longer term project, you may want to have some milestones to just make sure that people are on the right track doing whatever they are doing. So that's a kind of shift that you may need to do when leading people, to have to communicate the outcomes, not the procedures, because, as I said, some kind of work, we are tapping on the brain power of other people. So you are not really having set procedures. So the only thing that you can control are, what's the outcome that I want. This is what I want to see. This is what you need to hand it over to me. So we manage by the outcomes, and if you don't get the outcomes that you want, you may want to give feedback. You may want to you may want to let the other person to correct the mistake, so that eventually you get people to do the things the way you want it to be. And some of us may say, wow, if I have to correct mistakes, if I have to give feedback, if I have to track progress, it's going to take a lot of work. And yes, leading, especially if you're new leaders, is going to take a lot more time, energy, and effort than doing, right? So if you have an opportunity to say, hey, would you like to be promoted to be manager? You may want to think twice. Not to say that being manager is bad, but when you are stepping up the role of being a manager or being a leader, you may actually spend more time leading, managing, and communicating than than just doing the thing yourself. Right. So that is something you may want to prepare yourself. Right. Are we, right. I got two more points before we go into Q&A. Right. Um, so also, when we are leading, this happens with engineers and happens a lot more with salespeople and business leaders especially. Um, what we call what worked in the past, what worked for you may not work again in the future, right? So, you know, since we're talking about chips, right? My family, we had our first computer. It was an 8286 Intel, yeah, in 1988. So we have that, and we have back in the days the state of the art technology. We've got, of all things, VGA monitor, right? So in the old days, if you have VGA, you got to pay extra. So we got VGA monitor. We had also larger storage spaces. We got a 40 megabyte hard disk, right? Not gigabyte, megabyte hard disk. So that was in 1988. Now, if you're operating in the mindset of yesteryear, and I'm sure that we are not comparing to 1988, but with the explosion of information, of technological advances, whether we are talking about hardware, software, AI, whatsoever, the way we work, the way we do things can change drastically. So you may have a success formula that worked in the past, or maybe it's not a matter of time. Maybe it's not because what happened in the past does not apply to the future. You may have a set of work practice that worked out well for you, as in your personality, your way of doing things. So you may have a magic formula that works for you. It may not work for other people. So coming back to the people versus machine, people are inherently different. So what worked in the past may not work in the future. So you may want to, again, when you are leading, explore what could be potential tenets of success today, uh, and if your team members are giving you the feedback that they tried some old and proven ways but still they didn't work as expected, then be prepared to explore, okay, what went wrong, how should we adapt, how should we make small changes to make sure that we are able to work it out, not just for you but also for your team. So what worked for you may not work for others as well. And the last but not least, how you are going to tap your team's talent. Now, I'm sure that if you ever get into a position of hiring your own team members, right? So you're a manager that you are able to hire people to work with you and work for you. I'm sure you want to hire highly talented people, highly talented individuals, so that you can have a highly talented team. Now, the thing is, are you able to tap on your team's talents? Because the traditional way of leading is what we call command and control. You, as the boss, you, as the manager, you, as a leader, you tell people what to do and you give commands and you make sure that they follow instructions. It's where you control, right? And there is merit still today to use command and control. If you have a shorter deadline, if you need to get something to be done in the right way, in the right procedures to get a unified outcome or goal, yeah, command and control is great. But for the bigger context, if you're looking at managing strategy, managing the usual um, the wider what do you call application of business, you may want to be more consultative and be able to tap on the talents of your team. As I mentioned earlier, your team members may have different ways, different ideas, different contributions of getting the same things done. So you may want to co-create, brainstorm, especially when it comes to innovation. You may want to have fresher perspectives and ideas which sometimes may not work, but still fresher ideas and perspectives so that you can tap onto different talents and allow them to work together. Now, this is where sometimes coaching comes in. Because in coaching, one of the key tenets in coaching is to listen without judgment. So we are not going to judge whether it's a good idea, stupid idea, or does it work at all. We just take in information and get we can evaluate that information later. What we want to do is to allow people to just say anything, right? We may want to get contributions of every single kind on a table so that people don't feel that if I say this, will people laugh at me? Will people say that it's just such a stupid idea that I don't want to say anything at all? So it's to create the kind of space that everybody can contribute without being judged upon. And then we evaluate the different ideas rather than to say, "Oh, you are such a stupid person," right? So it's going to be having that channel to have different ideas and sort out which tend to work and which may not work and pick out the winners moving forward, right? So four things, just to share a little bit on being data driven and having that leadership. People are not machines. Uh, it may not be as obvious as that, but people are a lot less predictable than machines. What doing and leading people are completely different things. You may actually spend more time, energy, and effort leading than doing the work yourself, which leads to what worked for you may not work for others. What worked in the past may not work now or in the future. And tap your team's talents. Your teams are multi-talented. Find ways of letting different voices, different perspectives to work together and see how you can innovate and co-create a better future. Right. So um, I'm open for Q&A. Are there? Do we have questions from the floor? Yeah. Right. Okay. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Right. Okay. Yeah. Mhm. Right. Right. Sure. Sure. Right. So when it goes into when you talk about sudden changes in things, right? So um, I'm going to go into three different kinds of evolution, right? So especially if you're in project management. So let's say that drawing. This is the target, and in the old days when we have waterfall kind of project management, this is what you do: step one, step two, step three, step four, and eventually you hit your target, right? So there's waterfall management kind of project management. Every step is predictable. You just know what to do, and eventually you reach your target point. Now eventually we found that the target is not very clear. We probably have a general idea of where it is, but exactly what is the exact outcome you want to achieve, it may not be very clear on the outset. So you have a kind of a target that is somewhere here, but you don't really quite know what it's all about. And you also don't have fixed steps going towards your target. So what you do is you try to take a step and then found that okay, I may be a little bit off course, and I correct my path and I take a different step, and then I correct myself, and eventually I reach the target. And as I proceed along, the target becomes clearer and clearer. Right? This is what we call agile. Right? So we don't have clear pathways at the very beginning. We try to move forward, and then we'll do our recalibration. We will do our what I call our reviews and so on, just to make sure that okay, we've done this far, and then what next? How do we build on to whatever we build up and decide what we can do next? So that's agile. Now, this is Agile 2.0, what we call disruption. So you may think you have a target here or some kind of target here, and you try to go a few ways, and then suddenly you find that the total direction have changed. It's not here anymore. And the target may appear somewhere around here, right? And if it's in a different direction, what it also means that whatever you have built up does not apply anymore. You got to redo everything all over again. And just as you are trying to go for this target, you find that, oops, it changed again. And maybe the new target is going to be somewhere around here. And you will probably need to work a different way to reach the new target, right? So that's the age of disruption. You have so much changes that a lot of things that you have done and a lot of foundational work that you have done may not apply anymore, right? So when in such a situation, well, there are various things that we need to do. So out of that many things, surprise surprise, we are not going to go into better agile plans or better agile methodologies. Those are still very important. Before we go into how we deal with the disruption, the how to, what we need to do first is you want to do that to deal with a lot of disruption. The first thing to have is psychological safety. What is psychological safety? That means I want to move forward, but I really have got no clue going forward. And I'm so afraid of making mistakes. I'm so afraid of making a fool out of myself. And what if, as a leader, I tell my team to go this way, and then the targets change, we're going to go a different way? Will my team question my authority, question my abilities, and so on? So there is a huge need to kind of feel safe making decisions that you may not know will work out or not. Not because you are incompetent, not because of that, but because of the kinds of disruptions that you are facing. Right, so you can make the best decisions, and then things change, and you have to change decisions overnight. Right, so and sometimes we may change decisions 3 times a day. So that's the kind of thing. So when it comes to psychological safety, one is um, the first thing is to be kind to yourself, knowing that despite your best intentions, despite your best knowledge, despite your best expertise, things will still go wrong. Right? I'm not saying that things will go wrong all the time, but hey, the world is changing, so things will go wrong. So be understand that your best decisions may not work out the way you intended, and be kind to yourself. Let yourself know, let yourself know and let your team know that well, we do the best according to our understanding. We can instill periodic what do you call checks and reviews to make sure that we are on the right track. But hey, things can still go wrong. So be kind to yourself, right? So that's one part of it. And number two, you were talking about be kind to yourself, and of course we are looking at being kind to others. Now, we're not saying that we should tolerate mistakes, we should tolerate people who are not working hard enough. It's not that. But if people, again, are doing to their best knowledge, putting the right kind of effort, doing the best skills in whatever they can, and because of external reasons, things don't work out, it's a total failure. Be kind to your team as well, knowing that these are honest mistakes. Everybody will make mistakes in an age of great disruption, great uncertainty. So if we need to start all over again, it is what it is. Let's start all over again. So be kind to yourself, be kind to your team. It's the kind of a new normal that we may be facing in the years to come. So that's probably the first thing to do. And of course, once you have this common understanding with yourself, with your team, and then we can implement the various ways on how we can deal with different kinds of disruptive changes. Right. Hope that answers the question. Mhm.
Are more like I think that it makes us grounded, makes it clear, but it doesn't move us forward. How the move us forward look like?
Right. Moving forward, again, we are going back to here as into we are clear about things. Moving forward is okay, so what is our goal right now? Knowing that the goal may change, but right now, as it is, what is the goal now, and what should be the next steps as what we can do now. Moving forward may not be I'm planning ahead for the next quarter, the next 6 months. Moving forward can be okay. Given the things that are happening, what should I and my team do the next week? Right. So the whole idea of being agile came from the software industry, where things are much more quicker than other industries. And the thing is, when you got handphone manufacturers manufacturing cars, right? So I'm just using this as a metaphor and as well as a fact of life. Handphones. Now, the slowest iteration of handphones is Apple. iPhones only have one or two new models every year, right? And I say only because they're slowest. If you are looking at other brands, Oppo, Vivo, Huawei, whatever, Samsung, they've got multiple models in a year. So they change all the time. The way they work is they produce a few models, see which one are selling better, and then the ones that are not really selling, they just cancel it. Right? So that's how the mobile industry work. Now, when the mobile industry goes into car manufacturing, now car manufacturing is a very long-term, slow process traditionally. If you want to manufacture a car, from the time you have your design to the time that you produce the car, it's going to be 5 years, right? In the traditional sense. Now, when you got mobile phone operators like Xiaomi, like Huawei into car manufacturing, they are adopting the handphone mindsets, mobile phone mindsets into manufacturing cars. That means one new model a year, right? So from conception to commercializing the whole car, 1 year, right? So that's the speed of change that we are facing. So what does it imply for the rest of us? We are going to see a lot more things that are moving faster than it is. So if you're thinking about moving forward, means that okay, we got to plan 3 6 months ahead. Um, again, depending on your industry, depending on where you are, that may be too long. So let's work on something that in a short span of time, maybe we are very much less likely to be disrupted. So maybe anywhere from between a week to a month is the kind of safe space that we won't get disrupted yet. So let's work this week. This is what we're going to do, and then by the end of the week or beginning of next week, let's have a recalibration and into finding out, where are we? Are we on track? Do we need to make changes? And the following week, what we are going to do. So we may, in terms of moving forward, we may actually move forward in smaller steps, but smaller and quicker steps. So I don't know if that answers the question.
A target, right?
Yeah.
Then we need to sort of align that target. How can we come up with I was thinking more like data, right? How can we come up with a nice convincing number for the leaders and also something that we can convince our followers to align us, that it's not too overwhelmed and it's not sounds to be too hostile and those also align to the bigger goals, the running rate target. How can we find out the numbers? How can we get everyone aligned with the numbers? How as a leader, how can we do that?
Right. Okay. So when we are working in corporates, the unfortunate thing is whatever number that's being set by corporate, that's the Bible. That's something that we need to work towards. So usually, unfortunately, that may not be negotiable, at least not in the shorter term, right? So everything that we do has to, I'm not saying aligning, but maybe working towards that number or that goal that corporate has in mind. So that's where we start. Now, of course, getting to that number, getting to that goal is not as easy as it sounds. We may have certain gaps, we may have certain challenges going to that number. Now, at some point, I mean, if you know the gaps, you highlight the gaps. You may want to let the higher ups know that what are you doing to closer the gap. So there could be certain. Let's say you need to have a certain turnaround of X million dollars, and then you are missing by certain point. Then what will be some of the actions you will be taking to kind of narrow the gap. So that's one part of it. Now, there could also be situation where the gap is so big, so huge, and again, um, this may have to do with a certain company or corporate culture. For me, what I would suggest is to say that the gap is huge. We need to address certain underlying things that we are doing, because it's not something that if we do harder, we try harder, we work harder, we will close the gap. It may be something that fundamentally we need to change a lot of things in order to meet the gap. So I rather have that honest evaluation and honest feedback as early as we can, so that we can address the underlying issues why we are not able to meet those goals, right? So again, we talk about psychological safety, and if a company can have a culture whereby uh, are we able to come honestly looking into our biggest weaknesses, our biggest disadvantages, and have an honest evaluation about, what inherently must change before we can move forward and try to get to where we want to be. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I wish I know the answer. And guess what? Even if I were to ask all the available AIs that we have, no AIs know the answer. No one has a clear answer on what the future lies in. What we can see as clues, we're not saying the answer, but clues on what we have. Now, think about this. AI can be very pervasive. There are many software engineers that are being laid off because AI can write code already. There are many people who are in advertising industry that are being laid off because not that AI can do the design, but with one designer using AI, that one designer can do the job of 10 other designers, right? It's not that AI replace people, but AI is such a great productivity boost that you don't really need that many people, right? So it can be those kind of things. Now, on the other hand, what are some of the work that it's very hard to get AI to do? Surprising, and I'm not saying that your kids should do this kind of work, but just in general observation, um, realize that people who does waiter, customer service, the thing that you need a human being to do the kind of service, it's very hard to get AI to replace, right? We may have the kind of little robots that can send food to our table, but they tend to be clunky. They tend to be less responsive and less flexible as to a human being to serve you, collect trays, and whatsoever it is. So when there is a lot of situational judgment to be made in every little step of the way. And when it is something that is dealing with another non-machine, which is human beings, it tends to be better to get a human being than an AI, right? So it tends to be that way. So we're going to see that the things that deal with other human beings tend to be less encroached by AI. Of course, right now, if you're talking about call centers and customer service, a lot of voice automation are now AI. They're very good. But when it comes to really understand the human psyche, human emotions, really taking care of other human beings, having that connection, having that empathy, that is where AI is going to be weaker at. Now, what does it mean for future jobs? Who knows? I would say that a lot of even things like doctors, a lot of medical diagnosis can be done by AI. Especially, you got flu. You want to know whether it's flu or is it COVID or is it pneumonia. You probably can just get a an analyzing machine and give you whatever information you want and dispense you with some medication. But if let's say you have something that could be a tumor, that is something that is more chronic disease and you really need to have additional care, then a human being that is able to give you the right advice, give you the right care, is going to be a much better option than having that AI, right? That's one part of things. The other thing is realize that AI lacks human beings in three aspects. AI does not have a purpose. AI does not have a sense of purpose. As in, what is the goal? Why are we here? Why we want to achieve this goal? What does it mean to all of us? AI has got no sense of purpose. It's got a lot of information, but it's got no purpose as into what to do. Right? So that's one part. Number two, as I mentioned earlier, AI does not have real human connection. It can mimic empathy, like, "Oh, I'm so sad this happened to you." It can mimic empathy, but it doesn't really connect with you on a deeper level for AI. And third of all, AI, with all its information in the world throughout the history of mankind, it's got all of it. AI does not have inherent imagination. AI does not have original ideas. They only synthesize the ideas that we humans have been feeding AI for the last 5,000 years, but it does not have original imagination of its own. Right. So again, these are various things that we can explore. What the future may hold.
Okay, please repeat the question. Okay, the question is about coaching, because in during presentation, CJ's presentation, he mentioned about coaching and active listening,
Mhm.
right? So can you elaborate more on like active listening, stop us from asking question, and like, yeah, being a mentor than being a coach.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, right.
Thanks.
So, when it comes to mentoring, I usually advise people who are giving mentoring services or mentoring help to use a bit of coaching before mentoring. And this is a distinction. Now, what is mentoring? Mentoring means I share experiences. So if I'm a more senior engineer, I've been doing a lot of things in the past, and you are the newbie who come in the picture, so I mentor you. I say, hey, this is how I did in the past, right? So this I share experience. Now, early on, I mentioned that what worked for you may not work for others. You work in a different set of technologies, circumstance, and so on. So, and you also have your own personality, your own skill sets. So, you may work in a certain way that may not always work for any other persons. So before you dish out and share advice or share experience, you may want to ask a few questions first. As in, when you want to do this, what were the challenges you faced? What were the key difficulties? Why did you want to do it this way and not the other way? What was behind your thinking? And so we want to ask a few questions just for the sake of really understanding the perspectives of the other person before we start giving advice, right? The worst kind of advice is not about bad advice. The worst kind of advice that we can give is a good advice but applied to a totally different scenario, right? That is even worse. So what we want to do is to be clear about what is the kind of situation that the other person is facing, what are the goals, what are the intentions of the other person that they're having before we tell them what to do. So that's where the simple coaching part comes into play. We generally, as human beings, because since when the time we go to school, it's always the teachers that ask questions and the students that give answers. So we have a habit since young to give answers, right? And when we become managers, we have a habit just to tell people what to do. Right? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? That's our habit. Now, of course, when things are very clear, it's just a very simple task. We give instructions: do this, do that, and this is our procedures. This is how you do certain things. On the other hand, when things are really responsibility based, when there is no clear answer, no clear procedures, you may want to just ask a few questions just to find out what are they trying to do, where are they trying to get, what are their motivations behind it, what are their basis of consideration, and so on before you give them your own suggestion, right? There is also a slight tweaking in terms of coaching when it comes to executive or professional coaching versus the manager as coach. Now, in professional coaching, we tend to use things like, what would you like to discuss today? What would you like to work on today? Right? That's professional coaching. Now, you as a manager, you have your own expectations about what your team member must do. Right? So it's not pure coaching relations. It's not purely coachy driven kind of communication. You as manager, you may want to drive the communication at some point. So instead of asking your team member, what do you want to work on today? You flip it around and tell the team member that, I've observed you doing certain things and it's not quite up to standard. And I'd like to talk about this with you today. So you can go in on a topic that you feel needs to be improved, needs to change, or needs to get worked on. So it's in a way your agenda, not a coach's agenda. You can phrase it that way, while at the same time allow people to share their experiences, their constraints, their considerations, and so on. So I can say that no, I see that you're not really working well in this area, and I'd like to spend some time just going through with you. Is this a good time? Yes, no. So we have this time, and then to say that no, when you're doing this, I observe that the results are not quite there. Can you just let me know what are the steps you did to when you are doing this, right? And can you also share why you take those steps? What are some of your basis of consideration? Now, as you can observe that you are doing this and this and this, it doesn't really quite give us the kind of results that we want. What do you think can be enhanced or can be improved? Right, so we can ask these questions and get people to think. Now, as managers, what we really would like to be is, um, you don't want to think, you don't want to do all the thinking for your team members. You would like your team members to think also, right, to able to solve their own problems. And the more they're able to solve their own problems, the less work you have to do. So you need to train them somehow. So you may want to ask them, okay, so why you do it this way? Why usually we do it a different way? So what are some reasons why you're not doing a different way? And get people to reflect. They may give their reasons, they may give whether it's valid or not, they may give their ways of doing things. And also, they may come into some difficulties or challenges that they in the past they didn't tell you, and they may say that, oh, I want to do A, but because I don't have the right resources, I don't have the right support. And you can ask them, okay, so if that is the case, what kinds of support do you need? How would you like me to help you? Right? Are there other people in the organization that we need to tap into their expertise or resources that we can move forward? So in a way, when it comes to the final solution, it's kind of co-create with the coachee, the team member, giving most of the contribution, while the direction is being set by the manager, right? And also we will also like to have the coachee, the team member, to come up with the final solution so that the accountability is on the team member's part, right? And as manager, we will say that, okay, if this is what you want to do, if this is the way forward, how can I help you? This is kind of how can I support you? So the manager is accountable for providing the right kinds of resources and support. The team member is responsible and accountable for making sure that things go as what they have planned to do so. Right. And of course, in all coaching and in all work, there's always a milestone. So, okay, so this is what we decided. When is a good time for us to kind of check and make sure that we are on the right track? Next week, next month, next tomorrow, whatsoever. So we can have what do you call set the next coaching session again, just to make sure that everything goes in the right track and we are on path to our success. So it's not true that coaching takes a long time. Coaching can actually happen the results of coaching can happen very quickly if you do it right and if both parties are committed to getting the kind of results that they both want.
Just a follow up, right? So I'm curious that you shared having the like doing as a coach for managers or,
Yeah.
or leaders. What is I will put this probably what is the mindset and what are the questions or skills that a leader need to have in the coaching one so that the whole conversation don't feel like an integration like rather than the coachee or the team member came out sweating, they came out smiling.
Okay.
Right.
So again, we keep on coming to the part on psychological safety. So there is a time when, as a manager, you are in the role of manager, meaning you as a team member, you need to deliver certain outcomes by certain day, or you are going to get shit from me, right? So because I am the manager, right? So that's the role of manager. There is also the time to be the role of the manager to be the coach. It means you just say everything that you want and let's co-create solutions together. Now, you may at the beginning of that coaching session to let your team member know that we are now in coaching mode. So we will like what I mentioned earlier. I like to talk to you because of certain things. It's a good time. And if both parties are new to one another, you may want to add one more to say that no, in this coaching session, I'm not going to be in the role of a manager. So whatever you say is not part of your appraisal or anything. We are just here to see how we can co-create solutions to make things better, right? So we just want to make sure that this is not going to be any kind of evaluation. Even if you say the wrong things, you have done stupid things, I will not hold you accountable for that, right? Yeah. Yeah, you need to prepare that the employee to make sure that they feel safe to share everything with you. Sometimes in some companies the coaches are not the direct managers, because there is some inherent fear of, what if I share certain things with my manager, right? So that it may be the way, but if you are the manager and you happen to need to coach your team member, put yourself in a space where you don't use your own judgment in that coaching session. You can use exercise judgment in outside of that situation and give direct instructions. It's just that in that environment where you really want to co-create solution, you really want your team member to think, reflect, and come up with a better way of doing things. In that environment, then you don't want to judge them on anything, as 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 long as it's not illegal or against company policy. You don't want judgment on anything, so that they are able to share whatever it's on the mind with you.
Yes, I agree with that. Like, especially if you want them to be able to open up to you, they must first feel safe.
Yep.
Yeah, like whatever being shared confidential, like so that you won't like they don't feel betrayed after telling you. Okay. Yeah, and I also like what you say. It's like,
from I just want to add, from the context of being manager,
yeah,
is your team member wants to be protected from
yes,
you, actually.
that's right.
So you as a manager, if you find out that I did something weird, I'm going to be in the big trouble. So they want to have indemnity against that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of managers have that, like, oh, if I tell my manager, I'll be in, yeah,
Big trouble.
so yeah, yeah. So better don't share,
Yeah.
like, yeah. So as managers, we do need to create a safety environment,
Mhm.
so that our coachee or our subordinate can open up and tell us their problem, and we can
Yeah.
help them and support them,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Yep. And also, like, I like what you say. Is like, don't do the thinking for them, for your team. Let them have their own creativity,
Mhm.
and also understand why they do this and why.
Mhm.
Yeah. And if they have difficulties, give them support. That feels so nice, right?
I just want to add one more thing about, in the very traditional family-run business, there you got a boss, and the boss is having a meeting, and the boss says, "Hey, moving forward, this is the top 5 things we want to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5." And then the boss asks, "Does anyone has any questions?" Or the boss will ask, "Does everyone agree?" And then everyone will say agree, right? And after the meeting, everyone will have different opinions, but no one raises it in a meeting. And the
Correct.
reason for that is, if anyone were to raise any contrary opinion, then that's all hell breaks loose. It's worse than being fired, right? It's called a public humiliation. The boss will say, "Hey, you're so stupid. I've been here longer than you." You get a full dress down in front of everybody, right? So that's the whole reverse. I mean, whole opposite of psychological safety, right? So what we really want is that people are not embarrassed when they say anything. What we want to do is they can raise some really off the ball, stupid ideas, and you don't even want to make judgment. I'm not saying you should adopt stupid ideas that you know will never work. I'm just saying that when people are raising those ideas, you just take them down. And if you feel that it's really unworkable, you can ask them, "Okay, this idea may not work. Do you have more ideas? Or this idea is because of certain company policies, because of the way we do things, it will not work here. Can you come up with more ideas that can follow company policies a bit?" So we challenge them to refine and give us better ideas. Right? And again, just to be clear, there is a time to coach, there's time to manage. We're not saying that you coach all the time. You just make time for certain scenarios that you really like to have inputs from people. It's a time where you may want to brainstorm to innovate. So we want to play around with different ideas, different perspectives. So that could be a different scenario to coach.
Right. Right. And we do have online. Li Wei mentioned that great note. Good manager is the one that employee runs to when they are in trouble, so that the manager can protect them. Yeah.
In a way, it is. I wouldn't use the word protect. I would say support.
Support.
Right. So protect is like, oh, you come to me, come, I help you clean up your mess. So that's protect. Right. Yeah. Support is you come to me, and then firstly I'll empathize with you. Don't cry. Yeah, this is the issue that you have. So I can be your coach and psychologist also to hear your troubles. And at the same time, I support you by saying, okay, is there anything that we can do together here? What's your next step? How can I support you? What other resources do you need? How can you make this right? So it's also, even while you're supporting them, you are also making sure that it's the responsibility or accountability of that person to get things right.
Okay. So I think there's no more question.
Right.
Everyone, well, we had a great time enjoying CJ sharing. And CJ, can you share a bit about yourself,
Yeah.
and also like how they going to like able to get hold of your book, or like what you do? It's actually CJ came all the way from Singapore just to let everyone know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
because Penang has got better food, right? So that's for the food, right? So just a bit about myself. I have worked in the IT, what I call systems integration field way back in the early 2000s. I was selling e-commerce, e-business systems where, in the old days where there was a dot-com boom and then a dot-com crash, but there were a lot of um, excess hardware lying around, and a lot of SMEs are figuring out how can we make use of all this, whether it's websites or systems that they can grow the business. So I was in that space, selling different kinds of e-business solutions that we try to configure our own and sell it to our customers. And then later on, I went to China in 2004. At first, trying to be a freelance trainer, and it didn't work out. And then I joined what they call a industrial media group. So I got exposure to industrial automation, chemicals and coatings and plastics, all the different kind of industries. And since we are the media, we are the ones to help people to market themselves. So we got into understanding of how the how people sell industrial products, whether the sell is selling or marketing, doesn't really matter how they get it to the market. So that's a space that I had. So in my career, I've worked in different departments, from sales to marketing to training department, that kind of helped me form the kind of observations and ideas of whether it's leading, whether it's selling, whether it's making sense of the working in corporations. And a lot of times, I wish I have my own advice when I was 20, because I made every kind of mistake possible, right? And that landed me in a lot of deep trouble before I realized it. So yes, there's a good thing of being an older person, because that allows us to kind of reflect back on what worked, what didn't work, what should have been done better. So and again, the reason probably I share here and I share in the books is also to kind of share some of the reflections that I had, so that people that come before me or come after me do not have to make the same mistakes again.
If they want to contact you,
Oh, contact me. Right.
they
So
want
I think Billy can
to
have the contact details. I'm available on WhatsApp. Because it's a string of numbers, I wouldn't say the numbers here. It's not that I don't want to disclose the number. It's just a long number. It's a China mobile number, so it's a long number for WhatsApp. Um, and
CJ spent a lot of years in China as well, so he's very experienced. Yeah, the first book is mentioned how to
was
sales in China.
willing
Yeah,
to be selling in China. So it's in 2021 was at the height of COVID. I got a lot of spare time, so I put more of my recollections into this book about selling in China. So I spent my time from 2004 to 2020 in China, and right now, even now, I still fly to China about 7 to 10 days in a month or so, right? So a lot of my business and customers are still China based, and when it comes to getting work done between Singapore, China, and all that, it also helps it that I can work with people from different cultures and understand different perspectives. So that's why the WhatsApp number is a China number. So many years ago, WhatsApp was not banned in blocked in China yet. So I was maintaining that number. I also have a WeChat account. It's CYDJ001. And the WhatsApp number also works for WeChat as well. So it's the same number as well, right? So if you want a WeChat account, it's CYDJ001. That's me. You can search for me if you're in WeChat sphere. And of course, I'm on email that Billy can share with others.
Right. Thank you, CJ. Okay, I'll put the CYDJ001 here so that everyone with WeChat account can contact you. Right. So do get hold of both the books because they have different stories. Like the first one is a lot about how you work, deal with China sales and Guanxi and all that, right? And then the second one is a storytelling. Like you're reading a fiction book. Yeah. Telling a data in a story form. So yes, please go ahead and get hold of both the books.
Right. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, CJ.
Thank you.
Alright, that's all the time that we have for today. My name is Billy Chan, and if you like video like this, do remember to like and subscribe to this channel so that it can go to much more people who like you, love to learn and love to read. If you like this video, I encourage you to check out Dennis Ackerman's video in Authentic Leadership, how you can also learn the way to be authentically identify yourself, know yourself, and then become a great leader. Alright, until next time, happy learning and bye-bye.